hello. This is weird. This is my first time making one of these kinds of videos. It's unscripted, just hanging out really quickly. Sorry, ignore the fact that my nails are really beat up and awful. I have a bunch of swaps for my two-headed giant cube, which I suppose I will make a little larger here so we can take a quick peek. The two-headed giant cube here is getting an update because I've figured out recently that life gain does not work the way I wanted it to, or at least they changed it very recently. I'm not sure which one it is. Maybe some rules genius in the comment can go ahead and help me there. Because I know they did some two-headed giant rules changes during Marvel for the two-headed giant pre-release stuff, and that made Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs, stop working. That's this fucker. Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. He is, whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if you're the defending player, create a 3/3 red ogre. So it used to be in two-headed giant that you were always the defending player, even if your teammate's being attacked, because you're on the same team as them. But they've changed that rule recently, so Kazul actually stopped working, and Tromokratis also stopped working normally. Tromokratis used to work for the entire team. So the joke is that Tromokratis, their entire team would have to block it. But now it's only the person it's attacking, all of their creatures have to block it, and the other teammate can't block it all. So in some ways it's better. But anyway, Tromokratis, great. Kazul, no longer working because of how that rules changes happened. And also, in light of these rules changes, when I was checking the rules, either life gain used to always be this way and I didn't know, or it just changed recently. But if you gain life as a team, only the player who gained the life technically gained it. So what does this mean? For things like, what's a good life gain trigger example? Oh my god, I'm like completely blanking. This is awful. Hang on, wait, bear with me. Veto. So, Veto, Thorn of the Duskgrows. If you controlled this and then your teammate gained life, your veto would not trigger despite the fact that your life total went up. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, but, you know, that's just how it works because damage in life affects each player separately, and then it affects the life total. So, Orzov's theme is no longer going to be life gain, is the plan. Instead, I've decided to go with Exile as the theme. So we have Ketchermost already in the cube. I put that in just recently. At least I think it's already in. I have my piles of cards that I bought right here. I think Ketchermost is already in, and so is Kaya. So I'll throw those on screen very quickly so we can see the changes that are already happening to the paper cube. So we put in, I put this in, pal. You don't have anything to do with this. We put in Kaya, Ghost Assassin. Not this one, sorry. This one was already in. And that's part of the why I also wanted to do Orzov Exile Matters, because Kaya's already in. Yeah, we have Kaya's Spirit's Justice now, though. Whenever one or more creatures and or creature cards in your graveyard are put into exile, you may choose a creature card from among them. If you do, target token becomes a copy of it, except has flying. That's really fun. I really like that quite a bit. I like the +2 surveilled and exile card from graveyard, little passive grave hate plus card selection, and then it makes a spirit, so you can do this by yourself. And then -2 exile target creature control for each other player, exile to one target creature that player controls. Very, very strong removal into a giant, where you go exile my own thing, exile your thing, leave my teammate alone. Very, very strong. Now we also have Ketchermost as well, and that one is more self-explanatory, right? Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you lose one life and draw a card. So, yeah, very self-explanatory why we added Ketchermost. Anyway, so now let's talk about the swaps that are happening in the cube. Numero uno is Dragon Breath. Dragon Breath here. It has haste, and enchanted creature has haste for 1 and a red. And then when a creature with mana value 6 or more enters, you may return Dragon Breath from the graveyard to play, enchanting that creature. Notice that it doesn't say under your control. So if your teammate plays a big, stupid idiot, you are able to attach it to their creature from the graveyard with the Dragon's Breath. Now, instead of this card, I have opted instead for... Oop, the wrong pile. I'm a genius. Where are you? It's called Escape Velocity. Yes. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has +1/+0 on haste, so you can still attach it to a teammate's creature. But it has escape for 1 in a red. Exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. So you can cast this from your graveyard by paying 1 in a red. And hey, great news. You know what that means? It triggers Ketramos for your teammate. If you are a red, let's say red-white deck or red-blue deck, and you're rocking Escape Velocity, you're able to trigger their Ketramos, which is super fun. Okay, moving on. We have Apostle of Purifying Light. So this is a 1 and a white, protection from black, pay 2, exile target card from a graveyard. So I've been actually having a lot of fun with these protection from color cards in the cube because one player might not be able to answer it, but their teammate might. So it actually rewards spreading removal around across your teammates and punishes the strategy of one player being all removal and the other player being all bombs. That is still a very viable strategy. It's just like, I don't know, I like how protection kind of works in that dynamic. And over probably some stupid life gain card in white. Yeah, let's get rid of Healer's Hawk here. Shoutouts, Healer's Hawk. But pretty good for auras in general, but which is the white-green theme. But so is Apostle. You can attach auras to this protection from black creature, and the opponent with black in their color identity can't block, so it's not that bad. Okay, moving on. We have the GOAT. This is a really good card that I think people neglect. It's Angel of Serenity. This is 4 white, flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile cards, 3 other... Here, actually, I'm going to try to do this without the light to see if this makes it a little bit more palatable to look at. That helped, like, a little bit, but not a lot. It's just way too bright, a little bit. Aha. Maybe I could just pull up Scryfall, but I'm lazy. Anyway, whatever. When Angel of Serenity enters, you may exile up to 3 target creatures from the battlefield and their creature cards in the graveyard. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exile cards to their owner's hands. So the joke here with Angel of Serenity is you can exile blockers. You can also exile cards from your own graveyard to get them back to your hand. And you can also exile cards from your teammate's graveyard to give them back cards in hand. This is going to come in over the stupid... Yep, Victory's Herald. It's a 6-mana flying angel that gives lifelink and flying to all other attacking creatures, which is fun in 2-headed giant that it reaches across the table and gives that to your teammates' creatures as well. But there's a lot of other effects in the deck, in the cube like that, like Battle Cry and the like that I'm not going to be missing this card too much because it is kind of slow and clunky. Anyway, Angel of Serenity in. All right, next up. Oh, this one's heat. It's Augusta Order Return. I'm so happy I finally got my hands on this card. 2 and a white for a flying Vig. Whenever it attacks, each player exiles a card from their graveyard. When 1 or more non-land cards are exiled this way, you put that many counters on target attacking creature. Flying Vigilance. So this has multiple things going for it in 2-headed giant. You attack with Augusta. You attack with a teammate's creature over here, right? Your teammate's attacking with Apostle of Purifying Light. All right, so you swing. So now we're going to exile cards from graveyards. I'll exile card from mine. Teammate exiles a non-land card from theirs. Opponents, they'll exile land cards if they can. And then, after you and your teammate both corroborated to do a non-land card to get 2 counters, you can put them on your teammate's attacking creature. It doesn't say attacking creature you control. So you are able to give that to the teammate who is attacking alongside you, which is awesome. So, yes, Augusta, Shuin, triggers Ketramos as well. We're going to go ahead and replace good old Soulfire Grandmaster for that. Soulfire Grandmaster was responsible for a couple of very long games with like Mizium Mortars and the like, and that was intentional, but the thought was that you would have a Felidar Sovereign, which is actually staying in the cube. I kind of like Felidar Sovereign. That's the card at the beginning of your turn. If you have 40 or more life, you win the game, and it's a 4/6 lifelinker for 6. But because there's still a lot of lifelinking threats in the cube, a lot of ways to gain life without the Orzov life gain theme still. But anyway, Augusta in over Soulfire Grandmaster, even though I do like Soulfire Grandmaster. All right. Next up. I think Faceless Butcher's in the actual cube as well. Let's check here. Yep, there's Faceless Butcher. So Faceless Butcher is basically Ravenous... It's Fiend Hunter. 2 black. When it enters the battlefield, exile another target creature. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield. So You can play this, exile an opponent's creature, sack this in response so they don't get it back ever. But long story short, this is just a Ravenous Chupacabra that triggers Ketramos. That's the reason why I'm more interested in this card than Rav. We're going to take out Throll Parasite. It is sad to lose Extort in this cube. Extort is a very fun keyword for a two-headed giant, but alas. And also Throll Parasite had some fun play with a lot of the adapt creatures in the cube, but still I think it is a little bit too on its lonesome without the life gain theme. All right. Now we're going to have Goblin Dark Dwellers. Goblin Dark Dwellers is in the cube now because it triggers Ketramos for your teammate, right? And there's also just a very big Is It discard theme. We're going to go ahead and be cutting... Let's do Seize Opportunity. Seize Opportunity is kind of just a space filler card. I like to have a little bit of combat trick action in cubes, but I don't like combat tricks just by themselves that do nothing else. So here we had a combat trick, or it was an impulse draw for 2. And then Goblin Dark Dwellers in. All right. Next up, Direfleet Daredevil. Very similar reasons. Exile an instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You can cast it. And then that triggers your teammate's Ketramos, right? So it's mostly just like focusing on things that trigger Ketramos because I find that synergy kind of fun. I was thinking about putting Servandum in. That's the one wherever things are put into exile, he gets counters and stuff, but it felt a little too clunky. Anyway, this is going to go in over Mind Collapse. Mind Collapse is just kind of a generic removal spell for the cube. Very big fan of efficient removal in cubes. That's how you make really, really fun formats. Okay, we also have a Conspiracy Theorist. Whenever this creature attacks, you may pay 1 and discard a card. If you do draw a card, whenever you discard 1 or more non-land cards, which will happen a lot in the Is It discard theme, you may exile 1 of them from your graveyard. If you do, you may cast this turn, and that works with Ketramos, in addition to being good for the Is It discard theme. Goodbye, Pain for All. This card's a little bit too strong. When it enters, you enchant a creature you control. That's also fucking curse words in Two-Headed Giant. You control means it has a lot less play, this aura, than like a friendly, like anything. You can enchant anything aura. So anyway, when this creature enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to the power to any other target. And then whenever it's dealt damage, it does that much damage to each opponent. That is that much damage to each opponent times 2 because they share a life total. So if you did this and then you did chain reaction the turn after, it would deal damage equal to the number of creatures in play to this creature, and then that would do that damage times 2 to your opponent's life totals, which is kind of clunky, kind of strong. Not a big fan. Don't worry, we're going to have a little bit of red removal come in here soon to replace some of the removal we're taking out. Obliterating Bolt, for example, is one of those cards. It deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exiled instead. Heyo, those are big words for Ketramos. I think this is the one I have in. I don't remember if I had this one or Fanged Flames. Okay, I have Fanged Flames in. I think what I'm actually going to do, though, is replace that with Obliterating Bolt. And the reason is because Obliterating Bolt is red, whereas Fanged Flames is devoid, which means it doesn't work with Goblin and Narcomancer, which is in the cube, which says red spells cost 1 less. I want you to be able to do this with the Goblin and Narcomancer. There's not any blue blast or anything in the cube or pro-red, so this becomes a little bit more realistic. Oh, that's a fun thing to do with devoid spells, is get around protection with them. Anyway, sorry. Obliterating Bolt in. Thumbs up. Hooray. And we're going to be replacing Faithless Salvaging with that. Also nice that this hits Planeswalkers as well. All right. Moving on. We have a couple more black cards here. First one being Fan Favorite. This is honestly just a card that I missed when first combing over Battle Bond, but I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. So 3 and a black for a 2/2 with assist, which means your teammate can help you pay for this spell. You can, I guess your opponents, with the wording, your opponents can technically help you pay for this spell too, but I don't know what fucking opponents can be doing that. Anyway, 2 mana. Fan Favorite gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Any player may activate this ability, so you swing this in and you and your teammate can pump it together. You can also cast it with your teammate. The cube is pretty slow. It's typically turn 1, tap land, turn 2, nothing, maybe a 2-drop. And this is a 2-drop if you want to play it as a 2-drop and your teammate doesn't have anything to do that turn. Also, we have another Battle Bond staple here that I missed on the first go around. It's Inner Demon for 2 black, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has flying, and is a demon in addition to its other types. And when it enters the battlefield, all non-demons get -2/-2 until end of turn. So a nice little board wipe protective spell there, or board wipe pump spell there, and a cute little threat here. This is also helping shoring up the fact that the cube actually felt a little bit devoid of black 4-drops. So these are both remedying that problem. So here we have 2 cards that we're cutting. Just Vampire of the Dire Moon, a life linker that was cool for Dimir Infiltrators because I kind of like Death Touch creatures more than unblockable creatures for the purposes of infiltration because it's a little bit more interactable. I mean, there's a good mix in the cube, but still. And then we also have Send in the Pest here. Each opponent discards a card. You create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with whenever this token attacks, you gain 1 life. Both of these cards, of course, were also in for the Orzov life gain theme, in addition to also just being generically high floor kind of cards. All right, moving on. Did Yeheni or Woe Strider come in? Because some of these cards I bought as speculative picks for the cube, and they're not actually in yet. Yeah, Yeheni's in. Is Woe Strider in? Nope, no Woe Strider. Okay, so just Yeheni. So Yeheni is coming into the cube for Golgari. Golgari has a lot of cards that care about things dying, and Yeheni's just another one of these options that protects itself. It's a sack outlet, which is really handy for Rakdos, which is kind of a sack theme in the cube. And then Haste, very good for Rakdos as well, which cares a lot about Spectacle and damaging your opponents at each turn. And then, yeah, so whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you'll put a counter in Yeheni. Very strong card. Yeheni's very great. All right. What else is in here? High Society Hunter's eventually going to come into the cube here. Feral Hydra. Prismatic Ending. I think Glasswing Grace is in. That's something I'm going to have to double check. Orzov, Glasswing Grace. No, it didn't make it in. Okay, sure. That's fair. I was thinking about adding Chalice of Life just because life totals are already so high, and then there's so many life gain cards that can get you above 10, above your starting life total, so you can start shooting them for 10. Bitter Triumph, I don't think came in. End the Hunt's in, though. End the Hunt, 1 and a black sorcery. Target opponent exiles a creature or planeswalker they control with the greatest mana value among players, planeswalkers, or creatures they control. So that's going to come out for Essence Pulse. Essence Pulse, for obvious reasons, this is a life gain card. So here we have a card that is just removal, but it's removal that triggers Ketchermos, gets around Indestructible. It also answers Ketchermos if they have it and no 4-drop or greater. All right. We also have Prismatic Ending, which will come in over... let's do it over Vitality Hunter. Vitality Hunter is a monstrous card. Lifelink X, white, monstrosity X. And then that puts that many +1/+1 counters on it. And then when it becomes monstrous, you put X lifelink counters on it to X target creatures. Very, very funny card. But of course, Prismatic Ending, slightly higher floor there. It has more synergy now with the Ketchermos in the cube. So on and so forth. Okay. Now, I must think. Consecrate Consume, I think, is in the cube. But what Orzov card do I cut for that? All right, a little bit of on-the-fly maintenance here. We're going to go to the blog post. Because, Dink, I did this. Oh, I did that swap earlier. But this one, Consecrate Consume. What were the Orzov cards I cut? Elenda, Saint of Dusk. Yeah, because I tried to keep the life gain theme for a second with the Brew. Markov Purifier. I think I've taken out Markov Purifier already. This is part of the beautiful nature of owning a cube, is just not knowing what it looks like. Luckily, my cube is to the left here in Wooburg order, so I will be able to pull out the cards relatively swiftly. Is this the multicolored side or the black side? Okay, it's the black side. Okay, so the multicolored side's over here. Yay! Okay. That's a bunch of lands. All lands right there. Shout out Fixing. So we kept Liesa. I love Liesa's Shroud of Dusk in Two-Headed Giant because it drains for so much with that many players on the same team, and then you offset it with the Flying Lifelink. So that's the Orzov card that stayed from the life gain theme. Ketchermos is in already. Kaya's already in. Okay, so there's more multicolored cards here that must be leafed through. There's Mr. Orfeo, very funny card, Intuitive Giant. Going until I hit an Orzov card. Conciliator's Duelist. I think this is still in the cube. There's no way I cut this card, because this one's life game, or this one's Flicker themed. Whenever it enters, you draw a card, and then each player loses 1 life. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, exile up to 1 target creature, return that card. Hooray. Let's look at Orzov here. Yep, Conciliator's Duelist is still in. Okay, nothing. Okay, this is white cards. Okay, the other multicolored cards has fallen flat on the thing there. I see. Kaya Ghost Assassin. And then non-Orzov cards. Okay, wait, where did my final Orzov card go? Worst case, I have spare sleeves, and we're just going to sleeve it up. Don't tell me it's this one. Okay, no, that's Temple of Malady. Okay, let's see if it's in here. Artifacts and such. Oh yeah, I also put in Ghost Vacuum and Relic of Progenitus, both of which trigger Ketramos every turn in our Graveyard Hate that are high floor. There's Dismember. I was like, why is there a black card here? It's a colorless card. Okay, great. So I guess I just pulled it out and didn't replace it, which is fine. That's like better than doing the opposite of that. Here's a empty sleeve that it should be in. So yes, Consecrate Consume goes in. This one just has exile, target card from a graveyard, draw a card, which is just nice graveyard hate, plus it's a draw 2 with Ketra. And then this one here is just a sack, like a removal spell. Okay, great. There's that pile done. Now that all the Orzov cards are swapped in, we have some more cuts here from black, that being Witch of the Moors, a life gain card, Sorin of House Markov, a life gain card, Drumcop Poisoner, life gain card, Oathsworn Vampire, life gain card, Leech Collector, life gain card. The one that's most likely to stay if I don't have all the ins I need, Insatiable Skitter Maw. Couple of white life gain cards left, and then 2 green cards as well. I did not get either of the green cards that I wanted for the cube, so I think I'm going to start there. So I got a Feral Hydra, which is just a speculation pick. It's X in a green. It enters the battlefield, X +1/+1 counters on it, and then 3 mana I can put a counter on Feral Hydra, but any player may activate this ability, so your teammate can put counters on the Feral Hydra. And then we're going to find another green card here to put in the 2-headed giant cube. There's a lot of playtest cards in here from... we could do like Noxious Newt. Sure. Just a 2-mana Death Toucher. Makes sense to me. And it's also a mana dork, which helps the Gruul ramp deck. We're cutting Gift of Paradise and Virulent Emissary. Both of these cards are fine, but they're both like just too heavy in the life gain theme for me to kind of appreciate them. The one that's most likely to stay is Gift. In fact, I'm kind of thinking about keeping Gift anyway. Anyway, yeah, the 2 cards I couldn't get are Apex Altasaur, which is 9 mana, 10/10, and then it fights any number of creatures, basically. And then also Haywire Might, which I like. It's for Ketramos, so I would like to get one eventually. But for now, I'm going to put in Noxious Newt and Feral Hydra. Card to add, Noxious Newt. Feral Hydra. What I like about 1-drops in this cube, like Feral Hydra and such, is just that we have Starfield Shepherd in the cube, I believe. Maybe, question mark? I'm unsure. Okay, no, there is no Starfield Shepherd in this cube. Normally I'll put Starfield Shepherd in cubes that have a lot of 1-drops like this, but I think this one managed to fade that synergy just because Starfield Shepherd is kind of a selfish card. It only really affects you and your deck, so it doesn't really help with your teammate, which I the whole point of the cube. Okay, great. Those are now out. So sadly we're out of red cards to swap in, but what I might end up doing is swapping in Kumano faces Kakazan. This is 1 red mana, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control, so it'll do 2 damage when it enters. Then the next creature spell you cast this turn has +1/+1 counter, it enters with 1. And then you exile the Saga, that triggers Ketchermos, and it flips into Etching of Kumano, haste, 2/2. If a creature dealt damage by a source you control would die, exile it instead, which triggers Ketchermos every single time you blast a creature with a red burn spell. Very fun card to synergize with a teammate. Okay, we are running kind of out of cards here to swap in, but we have a couple. I don't know if I want to do Fanged Flames or not. I don't think so. We can do Woe Strider, maybe. I'm trying to think what Woe Strider would even really be good for, though. Not a lot, I think, is the answer. Could do Orzov Guildmage, which is funny in this context, because you go 2 mana for 2/2, and then you can pay 2 and a black. Each player loses 1 life, so it just burns out each team with spare mana. That's kind of fun. It's a very good rate for it, too. I'm thinking here. Like maybe Tribute to Hunger Stays, but I doubt it. I don't think I want to keep that card. Thrall Parasite, nah, I'm fine. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to be doing any of those then. I could put Glasswing Grace in as a black card, but if I was going to put Glasswing Grace under a monocolor, it would be white because it fits more in Selesnya auras than anything black is doing. So I have my little box of considerations over here that I'm going to be reaching for now. Boom. Dragon Shield, Code Elka, checkout. Anyway, let's peep through. Oh, Cinder Split's Judgment. I remember having this in the 2-headed giant cube because it was from Battle Bond and like pretty strong looking, and then it was just like actually awful to bounce any of your creatures ever. Or any of your opponent's creatures, rather, ever. Looking through. Grave Researcher's interesting because there is a Golgari graveyard theme where the Surveil 1 each turn would feel pretty nice, and then the Reanimator is kind of cool. So that's something. Yeah, not really feeling any of the rest of these kind of cards. Oh, there's another Bitter Triumph. Could do like a Spine Rock Tyrant if I had more red cards to cut. Just copy targeted removal spells, and then it basically doubles up so you can answer both of your opponent's threats. That's kind of fun. Funeral Rites, Overwhelming Remorse, Demonic Council, Persist. No. I don't know. I'm not really seeing a lot here. Some of these are for commander decks too, and I think we're getting into the commander portion of the cards I keep to the side just in case they're good. Reassembling Skeleton. Okay, we can put like Ulcerate in. It's just a nice removal spell. Make an Example. That card's really strong. I don't know if I want to be putting that in my cube. It is just that powerful. Virtus's maneuver, I think, is already in the cube. 2 and a red, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Each opponent or each player choose friend or foe. Each friend returns a creature. Each foe sacks 1. Yep, it's still in. Okay. Another Bitter Trap? I have 3 of these things? Holy fuck. Urborg Repossession? I mean, I guess. I don't think there's anything in here. Okay, so we found 1 card. 1. that I'm interested in putting in my two-headed giant cube that wasn't there already. Unless, like, I could put like Send in the Pest back in. Liliana Spectre, that's kind of a fine one for the the black sack or the black infiltrators, blue-black infiltrators. Tithing Blade is pretty decent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature you can flicker with Felia. And then exile this artifact, a creature you control. Oh, so that would trigger Ketramos as well. When you exile a creature card from your graveyard, and you also exile this artifact. But I think this is one or more, technically. I think both of these modes would happen at the same time, and Ketramos would therefore only see it as one thing that is triggering. Oh, there's more cards in here than Curse of Shallow Graves. Let's take a peek. Curse of Shallow Graves I used to have in the cube. Honestly, I think it's just a little frustrating to play with. Yeah, I'm not interested in really running any of those still. Okay, great. So we have a few cards that we can use to get rid of all this life gain themage. So it's going to be out with these 5 and with these 5, keep Insatiable Skittermaw. Okay. So, goodbye Leech Collector. Very fun card. Each opponent loses 2 life for 1 black after gaining life is just really, really strong because it's lose 4 for their team. In with Bitter Triumph, which is just a good removal spell. It's also good for just discarding threats to reanimate, which there's a small reanimator theme throughout the cube. Next up, Ulcerate. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. You lose 3 life for 1 black mana at instant speed, which is pretty decent. Tithing Blade. Another removal spell for black. Liliana Spectre. I now like this more than Send in the Pest because now the discard's more for just like an added bonus to an evasive body. And then lastly, Witch of the Moors out for High Society Hunter. 5 mana, 5/3 flying. When this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, put a counter on this creature. That's okay. Mainly in for it for this. Whenever a non-token creature dies, draw a card. Woo, baby! There's a lot of dying going along in a 4-player game. All right, checking this out here. Nice, looking good. I mostly got all the red and white cards I wanted. Anyway, we have 2 white claws. Awesome, dude. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a problem. Anyway, I guess I could do the Glasswing Grace theory where you put it in as a mono white card. I was thinking about Sigarda's Splendor. That card's kind of fun. This is something I wish I saw more of in Magic. This enchantment here. Because this works in 2-headed giant for life gain. When it enters the battlefield, note your life total. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. If the life total is greater than or equal than the last noted life total for Sigarda's Splendor, then note your life total. Whenever you cast a white spell, you gain 1 life. So this one doesn't say if you gained life since your last turn, do something. This is if your life total is higher. So your teammate can play life gain cards and help you out since you share a life total. Just double checking that there isn't a white card in here I didn't think so. And in here, white card. Paging a white card. Maybe Traveling Minister. Tap target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. You gain 1 life. Activate only as a sorcery. So you can do that on your teammate or your team opponent's thing. Beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent. Creatures attacking the last chosen player get +1/+0. That seems pretty fucking swell, especially for the Boros aggro theme. So basically your teammate can also get this buff if they attack him. I think the Beckoning Will-O-Wisp is kind of cool, but I think Battlecry cards are just better. This is basically just shitty Battlecry, right? Could put an Ondu Inversion in, make the games even longer. God, they do not need to go longer. 1 game of 2-headed giant, like not match. Like you're not doing best of 3. It's a best of 1 cube. 1 match of 2-headed giant is like anywhere from like 30 to 50 minutes. Like it's a full round, basically. Cathar Commando could come in. It's just a fine removal spell. Flash blocker with 3 power. but you're also able to remove artifacts and enchantments with it. I think I'm down for the Cathar Commando. I don't think I already have this in the cube because I think it came out for, yep, bingo, Shadowed Acolyte. This is just Cathar Commando, but instead of flash, it has flying, and it's a 2/2 instead of a 3/1. Okay, so we ever swaps them. Let's bring in Glasswing Grace and Cathar Commando for white. Great. Now all I have to do is do all the boring stuff, which is just making sure that the printings here match up with what I have proposed in the cube. I still think there's a couple of missing cards that I really need to get, but all the other ones were kind of just placeholders. Like, if I go through here, Ketchermos, Kaya, yeah, like these all were needed. Dismember was needed. Haywire Might, Apex Altasaur, just kind of fun to have. I'm happy I got all the red ones in, including Goblin Tunneler. That was earlier. Cling to Dust, there wasn't one of. I would have liked to get a Cling to Dust, maybe. Emperor of Bones is another one. I absolutely need an Emperor of Bones. Oh, Woe Strider did come in. Did it come back out? No, it didn't. Okay, great. I have a way to replace another black card then. So out with the Insatiable Skittermaw, in with Woe Strider. You know what? Woe Strider is in because of the escape ability. The escape ability triggers your Ketchermos because you're exiling cards from your graveyard for escape. Ta-da! I always forget that Woe Strider has escape, man. The goat and the 3-mana Viscerus here is already just like kind of good. All right. Yeah, no Kalatas. If anything, Kalatas might be too strong, and also it kind of non-bows a little bit with the Golgari theme. So I don't want to have too many of these effects that replace dying with whatever. Oil Deep Gearhulk was one of the cards I didn't show. That's already in the cube. When this creature enters, look at target player's hand. You can choose yourself, your teammate, any player, or your opponents, of course, to Thoughtseize them. That player discards a card, then draws a card. Yeah, Eternal Wanderer didn't come in, even though I would like her, kind of. It's just nice to have these effects in the cube. Basically, she's a Tragic Arrogance. You pick permanents in play for each player, and then you blow up all of them. So you keep the best thing for you and your teammate, the worst thing for each of your opponents. And then also, you can just use it as a flicker engine that triggers Ketchermos or making tokens and stuff. Okay, yeah, so I'm not really missing out on too much. Yeah, these are just the swaps I made quickly to the Two-Headed Giant Cube. Thank you for listening to my thought process and stuff. Bye!